The following podcast contains spoilers.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
I have a sleeping disorder. I can't tell the difference between my waking life and dreams.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake. This is the Bunzarelli Show.
All right, I'm Joe. In the studio, I got Khiim with me.
How you doing?
Also on the line, Bob's in the house.
Hey, buddy.
Khiim, last week we said the show kind of took an awkward turn from kind of the sluggish action in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it just kind of brought you to that turning point, which was good. Just kind of it was like a little odd, but I think it really paid off in this episode because I didn't think it was going to go where it went.
Yeah, I agree. I know we had some gripes the last time around, but I've really been thinking about it, and I think what Disney and Marvel is doing is just showing their capability of telling these superhero stories from different angles and different lenses, different styles of approach.
Bob, how'd you feel about it?
I'll tell you, it was cool. They answered pretty much almost every question. I had to really think about it afterwards. Okay, what's left to answer in terms of all the stuff we didn't know about? And there's just a couple things, but it was really entertaining. And it was really cool.
When you go to, we were talking about, the pacing and everything, and maybe it's a problem with a lot of these Marvel shows. It's just some of the ways, I think some of the ways they pan out. And don't get me wrong, I love this episode. When I go talk about the episode before again, it's I think they write, the beginning and the end, and then they start chopping it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So okay, let's make turning point here. Let's make turning point, which is all said and done, all on water or a bridge. But this episode, especially because the last episode hinted off, so now what it basically came down to is Mark just in his own head.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was, it wasn't, I was wrong about, it wasn't like an Amit thing. It wasn't a trap. It was he's in his own brain and he's got to work some stuff out to be safe, which is everything, like I said, all the questions get answered.
Now you're saying he's in his own head. I'm seeing that in this episode. But do you think that there's a specific point where it's because I didn't notice how odd last show was until I listened to you guys talk about the last show. And I was yeah, it was odd. I was it went all Indiana Jones and stuff. Yeah. And then it, it was getting kind of ridiculous. I really didn't put that together as much until you guys said it. So it's okay, did something happen in one of the episodes where he got clocked and since then he's been in his head? Or is it just this episode?
It just seemed the road to get to this episode wasn't like the rest of the road. Maybe it would have been a little better if when he got in that fight it went and the fight before.
The one when they're jumping buildings.
Yeah, and Steven switching with Mark goes, everybody chill the F out. Maybe that fight, something a little more climactic, but payoff was worth it. So he's in some kind of purgatory thing, or he's heading towards the underworld. So he's got to make peace with himself because of the scales. And I think the whole thing with it's a dissociative personality disorder is, so he's actually hiding secrets from himself and he's in denial. And that's where the imbalance is coming at.
Yeah.
Because Steven doesn't know some things, Mark doesn't know some things. They're kind of opening up to each other. The MoonKnight reveal wasn't even the coolest reveal.
It honestly wasn't.
What I mean? There was so many, Khiim, you talked about, we talked off the mics last week. We were talking about Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
And he really shined, and there was a couple parts where they showed the transition in his eyes and stuff.
Yeah, he's just doing a great job throughout the show. No matter what we have to say about the show overall, he's doing his part. He's definitely acting this.
It'd be interesting when they make those Disney after shows, and they show you the behind the scenes, because I want to see the performance, because he must have had to do every performance twice. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it had to be a stand-in reading Steven's lines to Mark, just so they could react to each other, because the reaction stuff was very on point.
Definitely.
When Mark would say, I think it was actually the episode before, but Mark would say to Steven, that's it, really excited. You would see Steven kind of jolt and react to it. It's just the timing and the way they did that was really good.
You believe that there was definitely two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, two different, because they're both learning things at the same time, the realizations. One of the things I caught off the part was the first starts flashback to Mark's brother, which is kind of the start of everything.
Yeah.
Mark's mother tells Mark, take care of your brother, and she says, later Gator, and which Steve always says to his mother on the phone.
Yeah.
And I thought about it a couple more times, and that's like the last. It's part of Steven's denial. It's like the last good interaction he had with his mother, basically.
Yeah.
Before everything went downhill. So that's like, it makes it a little more sadder when you think about it again.
Yeah, it does.
That was like the last loving thing his mother said to him, like smile, and then it just was all just totally changed after that.
That's pretty depressing, Joe. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Well, bittersweet.
I just feel like things got really dark for like a Disney show.
Dark for his origin because they're dealing with like a dark subject matter anyway. Because besides the MoonKnight stuff, which is once again funny because it's always like, hey, Conchu, get down. I'm trying to watch this. Like Conchu just steps in like, yeah, we know MoonKnight. Great. I want to see this Mark Steven thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, to do this dissociative disorder, and you also got to play it justice. You got to, because you're treating it like it's something real. So you have to give it a true origin.
Yeah.
And it has to have some true trauma to it. I also thought something, and I can't tell what's genetic and what's, because I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on like mental disorders or anything. Because his mom seemed fine, because mom could have just went wacky because of the brother dying.
Yeah.
But was there something kind of in there anyway that kind of woke up?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Like that would make it genetic almost. Like, because that happens to some people. Mental illness is sometimes genetic.
And it usually is carried through the mother.
Yeah. So I didn't want to.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because it was like a switch. It flipped a switch in her.
Yes.
Where she turned into, and that's why he's saying over and over, it's not her, it's not her. I think that was the big point.
Yeah.
It's like you're thinking like he's talking about her like she's two different people. And then boom, it happens to him. It's trauma, just kicked that in.
Yeah, because she almost became a different person. It seemed like it wasn't even like somebody sad or depressed. She became like something just. It was nonsensical, and even like the dad was almost an enabler, and who could judge who's supposed to act? Whatever was going on, they didn't really display what he was. They displayed Mark's anger, like why didn't you fix this?
Yeah.
But it was just the dad wasn't, what was the word, equipped to deal with it. Yeah. Basically. Plus, he lost his son, too.
Yeah.
So how much can he handle?
What you were saying before about the performance that the lead guy is doing by doing Mark and doing Steven.
Yeah.
You guys catch in the sort of the end of the flashback when he's walking off the funeral, and I think a couple other points.
Yeah.
There was a real subtle switch from Mark to Steven.
Yeah.
And he didn't say a word, and it's like Steven all traumatized, and then all of a sudden like just something changes in his face, and you're like, okay, that's Mark now.
No,
and now
Mark switches to
Steven. And then Steven like walks up over here, or vice, what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mark appears, or whichever way it was like I see, like you see it happen. The one that's on the ground.
Yeah.
He all of a sudden he switches, and they didn't say a word, and you just knew that's what happened. I thought that was really cool.
And you know what else made that scene cool was because he was also acting against himself. Because so Mark breaks down in front of Steven, becomes Steven, but he's being like goofy, innocent. Hey, Mom, I got lost. But the Steven that's watching it happen, he has like a more somber look to him. He's not as like happy-go-lucky, but he's still Steven.
Yeah.
He's still a different person. And he's like, the facial expression was awesome because he looks up and he's like feels bad. And he hears himself say, hey, Mom. And this is after he's accepted that his mom's dead.
Yeah.
And then he like closes his eyes. He's like, oh, what a doof. Like, what, this is all.
Yeah.
Like he just like, it was like a moment of acceptance.
Scene.
Yeah, because.
That was powerful.
Yeah,
that was rough, but good.
Not even like the Mark and Steven. Now you got like two Stevens going up and against each other. That's why it was so cool, because now Steven's getting a layer too when the more he learns about him being a part of Mark.
Yeah, every flashback they had, he would just be like, I remember this, but not exactly like this. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You just start seeing these layers peeled back on him as well.
Yeah, just like he's more in depth because he honestly, because we started the show thinking he was the real one.
Yeah.
And he thought he was the real one. He has no idea.
Yeah.
And they show it's only been a few months where it's bleeding into each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching it the second time because the first time you're just watching it and there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
You're just watching it. So I'm watching it the second time and I'm like, okay, so where does this hospital come in to play?
Uh-huh.
And where does Harrow come into play? Like, is Harrow a real person and this is just them putting him into their fantasy, or is Harrow just in the fantasy, or is Harrow just really the doctor? Like that's what I'm thinking watching it. And one thing I have is the way they know what the mental hospital looks like. I think that might be Steven showing something that he did. That maybe he really did check into a mental hospital, and that's why they know what it looks like.
The hippo, and I gotta find her name again, but we all know there's only one hippo on the show.
Yeah, Tawet or something.
Yeah,
like
Tawet.
Yeah.
So Tawet said some people imagine their plane as this or that because this is a little weird, a mental asylum. So Tawet is real, and that was kind of made clear when Mark went for the boat that it's really happening. But Mark still got the split personality. He's still kind of dealing. And she's like, you need to go work your stuff out.
Yeah.
I think they pulled that from a real memory, though. Yeah, the real was the hippo and the underworld and all that. But still, she's like, okay, well, you manifested this, which was an odd choice. Why an insane asylum? I think that came from a genuine memory that Steven checked himself in at one point.
I think that just comes from the fact that Mark the whole time knows what's going on. He knows he created Steven as a mental escape from what happened. Anytime he felt like life was too much, he knows himself he's crazy. So that's why when it comes to him dying, because that's what Tawet said.
Yeah.
You died. This is the afterlife. And then he's like, this is the afterlife? And she's like, well, no, there are many afterlives. And then I wanted to mention this. She mentions the astral plane. Isn't that from Black Panther?
Yeah, and they mentioned that too. So I read an article about that too. Was they kind of left it open, so you can't just say this is the end all be all of death because it kind of goes against everything else. So they said something. I think there was reference
there are multiple
to something
ways
else.
of dying or multiple layers of death.
Because they're still, like I said, I still like the bubble, but you gotta, if they decide to go forward with Moon Knight, which we're not going to know till next episode, if he's hanging out. But they kind of left the open door. Like the MCU does exist. I think the reason Harrow is there, I think there's a couple. I think the setup is like you said, Khiim, is like he knows he has to work this stuff out in his head.
Yep.
So this is the mechanism he created.
Exactly.
Also, the other thing is because there's stuff like Mark looks at one and sees himself beating up that dog thing as Moon Knight, and then you look in the other door and you see that cool scene of Steven as Mr. Knight doing the star thing, which is still like I think one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
But
That was awesome.
they start going through the doors, and Mark's always yelling, Steven, don't go there. Steven, don't go there. Because what it really comes down to is, I think, Mark not wanting to face these memories.
Exactly.
Like, he's facing this stuff himself.
Yeah.
I think the purpose of Harrow is, first of all, just a representation of something. But it's also because I think in the slightest bit, even like bad guy or not, it's been made kind of clear that Arthur Harrow, the villain, has acknowledged Mark's situation to Mark and Steven. He's had conversations with both of them.
Yeah.
So it almost makes sense that you just take that and you mentally in your head make him. He basically understands.
The first person is the first outsider to really, the wife too.
Yeah, but Layla doesn't know it as much.
But it was an outsider that sat him down and really talked to him about the situation.
Yeah, Arthur was like, even everybody. Khonshu was fascinated with it. Arthur was just straight up fascinated with it. And that's another thing. There was a line, and maybe I'm reading way too deep into it, maybe. But the episode before, when Mark starts going crazy, and he goes, "Mark, I've dealt with this too. I've had mental breakdowns too." I just took it as that kind of kinship with Harrow because Harrow was also a host of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that just because he's so close to the situation and everything. But especially the funny thing was it shows you how different the two personalities are because Mark has his freak out. And I totally forget about Harrow at this point, and all of a sudden he's in the chair with Harrow.
Yeah.
Then when Steven realizes his mother dies, he goes, no, thank you, no, thank you. And all of a sudden he's in Harrow's office. But from the doctor's point of view, from Harrow's point of view, it's just that mentally just happened. It's all like different avenues in Mark's mind.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
It's almost like Harrow's kind of like a token that keeps him grounded to like what is. Every time he gets too far or like too emotionally unstable, he's back in that office. Mark and Steven.
Yeah.
He's back in that office, and Harrow's the one that's kind of like pulling him back into like, okay, well, think about it. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then that's when he kind of gains back sense of reality and then starts going off again.
Especially when he did the mother thing with Steven. I like Steven. First of all, Steven's reaction.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, this little silly mustache. Ooh, kind of like a Ned Flanders thing." He's just making fun of him, and he's just like, he's like, "Oh, you went somewhere," because he. But it also shows you how separate, because he isn't as caught up with the situation as Mark is.
Yeah.
Even though they're the same person, that's how split they are.
Yeah, and it really shows you how broken Mark is, because every time Mark was in the chair, he was just like a broken man.
Yeah.
And then you have Steven coming in, and he's more aware of the situation and pointing out, like you said, Ned Flanders and all that.
I think Mark seemed almost more willing to give up.
Exactly.
And Mark was thinking, like, maybe I am really crazy and just imagining all this and there's nothing. Whereas Steven still kind of got his wits about him.
Yeah.
I think
that just shows like that he's the one that was kind of creating that construct.
Now that we've seen that episode, we know what it really is. If you look back, you remember how Mark told Steven, "I'm going to leave you alone. You're not going to see me. You're not going to see me." Did you think of that this episode? Because I definitely thought of that. Because I'm like, I think I know what Mark was somehow hoping or planning. I don't know how he's going to do it or how he planned on doing it, but somehow going to maybe off himself and let Steven just take over. Or maybe he would just like not take that, let Steven continue to do his thing. You know what I mean?
that's what I thought at first. I thought Mark was going to be like, just take me out of the picture and just let it be Steven.
Yeah.
But now
I don't think it's where it's going now.
No.
I think that was his plan before, though. I think now, now he's wanting to save Steven and everything, and we'll see what happens. But I think that was his original plan with Steven, was like, all right, I'm gonna get through this Khonshu stuff, and then it's gonna be Steven.
I was on that track of thought, except the fact that he mentioned that the part where they start bleeding into each other has only been happening for a couple months, which is weird because what was it like before? Did like Mark consciously just switch over to Steven when he was done being Mark, or what I mean? How did that work?
Yeah,
before?
did he do it?
That's
was it voluntary?
Like.
Was it voluntary or not?
Because even like Steven said something, and he goes, oh, look, they're driving on the wrong side of the road. So obviously Steven was in America, and he actually lives in London as Steven.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know, what do you see? There's a lot of questions, and a lot of them could slide.
I kind of think it was voluntary.
Mine was if they're ever going to show us the Haru Khonshu split, but how important is that to show us in detail? I guess just explain it more passingly. Like, what was the exact moment that they just said, like, hey, I'm out of here, bro?
Yeah,
like,
what was it that?
How did Haru how did Haru get out of there in one piece with Khonshu?
Yeah.
Yeah, the unanswered question, I think, is the third guy. There's still the third guy we haven't seen. Is there a third guy? I think that there is, and I think that these Disney shows do it pretty good, to where it's like the second to last episode goes nuts, and you always forget by the time you get to it. You're just like, okay, we got a couple more episodes, and then you're like, wow, what else is left?
Yeah.
I guess I think that would be the next big reveal. Or maybe, you know what? Harrow's in his head. I said this early on. I might win the prize for the best foreshadowing of the season. I don't know if we're still doing that, like a trophy or anything.
No, I got one too, so go throw it out there.
But maybe Harrow's the third personality. No, because he's going against Khonshu, so.
I thought the third personality might be what killed Layla's father. But he said something about the Bushman or the CEO. Like he seemed like he was talking about somebody specific.
Yeah, and then even you saw himself; he was shot up.
Yeah, that's right. He would I
think he said it was like mercenaries that came and wiped the camp or whatever.
I do think if because we think Steven's gone, if Steven pops back, I think that's going to be a big scene where it's like MoonKnight's in a jam, assuming he gets Khonshu back and everything, like the final battle.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just see Mr. Knight. And they're like, yeah, because you're like, oh, Steven's back. Steven lived, instead of just like showing up its first. Because it's almost like a better visual cue to see that version of MoonKnight. It's like, oh, there he is. That's Steven.
Yeah, yeah.
It reminded me of how powerful that final scene was when Steven goes to Stone. And then ironically, it's more depressing seeing Mark go into the happy paradise, because it's such like a bittersweet thing. Like, oh, you're in paradise, but you're here and Steven's not. Like, what a like strange and powerful scene that was. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, because it's almost like, okay, since you got your head right, you don't need Steven anymore. But I still.
Yeah, everybody kind of was rooting for Steven more. Yeah, we like Steven a little.
No, he's a soul. He's a soul. He had his own heart pulled for the whole test and everything. I think he's a full on
Yeah.
Like even like Heavens and thinking of him as another person. So even though he was like a made up thing,
Yeah.
he's still.
Yeah.
I think that the episode made a point like he's made up. He was in Mark's head, and we knew to an extent that it was something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but even
I thought in the beginning when they had the kid, I thought the kid was going to be him. He's going to end up being that brother. That's where I thought it was going.
I thought so too.
I think that they were making a point like, okay, it's just in his head, but he lived a full life. He had a full life. He has friends. He has memories. He has his own memories, you know, and he has his own heart, his own everything. So I don't think it's just going to be like Mark's like, okay, well, I'm okay and I'm better now. It's like, no, there's Steven still out there. I got to go get him.
Yeah, well, I definitely think moving forward with the Moon Knight thing, we'll probably see some trials and like tribulations going on with Mark is like accepting everything. Probably, I think some PTSD will go on.
What do you think of that kid that played young Mark?
Yeah.
I mean, kid actors are kid actors, but when he did that first appearance as Steven,
that was great.
As a kid, that was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because his mom's coming in to beat the shit out of him, and he's just like, oh, what a mess. Oh, I better pick up this rubbish. And then, like, once again, Steven realizing, like, what's happening and everything. Mm-hmm. And I tell you, I bet you Oscar Isaac actually went with the kid. I could see saying, like, okay, roll your eyes back like this and just switch it over. Not that it was perfect, but it was good.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And even
yeah, I'm sure he did, for sure. Because he did it really good.
And even the English accent, it's like, what I'm saying is, yeah, he was just doing it because he was mimicking the guy he saw on TV. But then over time, he just developed that character more. Yeah. Like, that was the birth of Steven right there. It was just like I said, the birth of Steven and the part where they started bleeding into each other. Those are like the two like most powerful moments that he's just like, because it was his mom's death. So you just like, he's crying and he just turns his head and just turns back and he's Steven. It was crazy.
Honestly, these last two episodes, even though the last one we kind of didn't vibe with, they're probably the most important because this is essentially is the origin story. Instead of giving at the beginning of, hey, I'm Moon Knight, this is what happened to me, blah, 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 here's how we move forward, they kind of pushed it in towards the end of it, but this is the origin. Moon Knight, Steven, all of that.
Yeah, see, it's like, even like next episode, because it could go like so many, I'm hoping that it's like, because we got to see Moon Knight, because we just, you know, that's what the show is, you know, or at least to have the victory, the resolution of the Mark Steven thing, whatever it is. Does Steven come back? Yeah. Does Mark learn to live without Steven? You know, that's the, you know, I don't want it to be like the old Big Bang, like Khonshu's in the sky and, you know, the Marvel light comes from the, you know, Thanos comes through, snaps his finger. You know, it's something like.
Well, we don't even know what's going on with Khonshu yet because Mark hasn't summoned him.
Well, the cool thing is since we've covered so much ground with Mark and Steven, it leaves it very open for like the next episode just to start off from Layla's point of view.
Yeah, honestly.
You could just have Layla
opening that
because they said something to the Tawit about could you send a message to Layla, something like that. Like just open up with her doing some action scene, getting Khonshu, maybe even confronting Khonshu, especially since Mark's out of the picture.
Yeah,
Khonshu. We saw how Khonshu spoke to Mark before he directly.
Yeah. That's the thing. Khonshu's sealed right now. Like,
but I'm saying if she released him, I don't know if it's as simple as just breaking the stone, but if she released him and he's assuming Mark's dead, he would approach her at least, and then she would probably say no, or something to that effect. But I think
the only thing is, I don't think it'll be her because I think at this point in the story, I don't think she was aware of Khonshu yet. Mark still didn't let her in on that.
That's true. Yeah, Steven said like, yeah, tell Mark to frame me, but she didn't hear any of that, supposedly. Oh, no.
She wasn't even there, I don't believe.
Yeah, but Haru might have Khonshu. Because remember when Haru said, you created me?
Oh, yeah.
He might have just kept him. It could happen by accident almost, or something, you know, to that effect.
I think Tawet would probably have something to do with it because she kind of saw she was like, all of these souls aren't supposed to be coming through. Remember, all the souls are raining down like meteors. Yeah. And she was saying these souls aren't supposed to be coming through like this right now. So she's kind of getting the feel that, okay, something is going on. Yeah. You do need to get back, even if it's for borrowed time. You need to get back and fix this or stop it.
She's a god. She could tell the other gods. And the other gods, maybe it's as simple as just doing something and they release him.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, Khonshu wasn't bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, apparently he was for real. Like, no, look, he's actually doing it. I see it. See all those souls?
Yeah. They weren't lying.
The story checks out.
I think Joe's right to where we're going to see it's going to flip over to. Okay, here's what's going. Well, obviously, it was going to flip there at some point.
Yeah, I think
that's how it's going to. It's going to be mostly showing to Layla and to whatever Harrow's doing right now.
Yeah,
that's making all that happen.
It'd be good if we get a little bit of a longer last episode too.
I think the buildup of Mark working out all the stuff and the mystery getting solved. So now it's the resolution of all that.
Yeah,
because really, as big as this Harrow thing is, and even the MoonKnight stuff is all secondary to the Mark stuff.
Yeah, the mind stuff was, and I think I said that in the last one we did. I said, what, this was fun, and there's a lot of kicking and jumping off buildings and all that stuff, and it's awesome, and MoonKnight's awesome. But the Steve and Mark mind stuff was really my favorite part of the show. And that's why I like this episode.
Exactly.
It was just 100%.
But the cool thing is we've gone 2 episodes without Khonshu, so it's going to be exciting to see Khonshu coming back again too. There's going to be that relief when
he's cool.
There's going to be that trouble, and all of a sudden Khonshu makes his appearance, MoonKnight makes his appearance, hopefully Steven makes his appearance. So
I feel like we probably could see some big answers in the last one as far as like the direction of MoonKnight.
Yeah.
But I think that some big questions also will be left. I don't think everything from this season will get answered. You know what I mean?
It all depends. It all depends if he's sticking around or if not. Because
no, I don't see there being any more after this at all.
No.
Just Oscar Isaac's doing huge stuff. I just don't see someone doing stuff that big. I think this is a standalone thing, and like you said, it seems like it's coming to the end of it. Like I'm not saying like the story's going to wrap up. You're going to see him as an old man, and then that's it.
Yeah.
But I think that this particular story it's going to be stopping Harrow is the end of it, and a few loose ends that we mentioned.
Yeah, this
getting wrapped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I don't see another show coming, but I think it's opening it up for it to be introduced into the movie line.
He could exist in the MCU and not necessarily have like even Daredevil right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's plans. There's rumors of maybe a season 4 for Daredevil, but I think there's like another show that Daredevil's supposed to appear in. Like,
well, they've already put Daredevil in the MCU.
Yeah, with Spider-Man.
Yeah, with Spider-Man.
But I'm saying like they might just bring him in when they need him, kind of thing. So they don't gotta like commit him to anything.
Yeah.
It's gonna be next episode that we'll know.
Yeah.
We're gonna get all our questions answered next week, so I'm definitely looking forward to it, and we will be there. I want to thank everybody for being here. Khiim, thanks a lot, man.
No problem.
Bob, thanks for being here, man.
Yep.
And we will see you guys.